Response to psychopathy. I've had violent thoughts since a kid. I talked to some people and they said that it's normal. I don't know if it's normal. Because a lot of the time I was concerned if I'd say what I'm experiencing, that I would be judged for it, and the social consequences because of that are also practical and physical. Then there is knowing and perceptions that other people didn't seem to have or resonate with. Not just not have or resonate, but when I admit there are people who will beat you because you told them something bad, even if it's a joke, and you don't mean it to hurt them. There are people who will tell you bad things, not just as a joke to hurt you, but will not care that you're getting hurt. They will force you to fake your emotions, to be happy, to not be a crybaby, or to not be angry and hateful. Because having borders is a crime. Then they will, which is all not the same as you can tell something bad to someone without intending for it to hurt them, which is not the same as I don't care that it hurts you. It's not supposed to, it's not the same. Then there are also contexts where a lot of people do and talk a lot of shit. So of course, at some point, someone can get sick of it and try to retaliate, which is not necessarily planned or controlled. Because your emotions, maybe you're using your brain and neural connections to, and how your body is, that also is related to those neural connections, to process them by passing them through it. Words are magic, so their meaning affects you even in that way. But then there is also the way you understand and process them that can change how you perceive them and how they affect you. So the people who you also joke or insult you as a joke, but while you're not in the state to handle it, or they do it in a very dismissive and not empathetic way, which again is different. And I don't know if it's more right or wrong. I personally maybe thought it's okay to insult others if you don't really mean it, and if you can just tell them that you don't really mean it. Because people insult each other all the time without even realizing it, with their opinions that are not just opinions, but when you think a certain way, you also think about how you treat people a certain way because of how you think about what they are about. If you think that someone is lazy and making excuses and has degenerate or childish interests, you can mistreat them about it. Because I didn't relate to most people and in general didn't think like them, and most of them also didn't seem to be interested in learning how to think differently or to understand someone else. I had to develop a false self. Everybody uses masks. This is also why it's generally said that people are fake, because they are fake. By being fake, you lose touch with your inner voice and with right and wrong. You lose touch with reality. Because this is all those fake people doing fake things, expressing fake things, and everything is not what they say that it is. This is a very common experience for people with autism from the outside world, of the outside world. Of course, people with autism are all different and they all have their own biases and problems. I'm not saying they are perfect, or sometimes even less wrong, but it maybe depends. Anyway, there is also the psychotic thoughts. There is creativity and texture perception involved in that also may be related to autism. There are individual differences and experiences that people ridicule, dismiss, tell that are fake and delusional. I can say or do something one time, they call it a degenerate, years later they say it or do it themselves. Because of pressure and bad life at home, that I also have to fake everything all the time and don't have the environment to process my shit. It's about to say this word, I'm not myself right now. I can't process it at home, I can't process it outside. So there is nowhere left to be real, everything has to be fake. Everything has to be about what someone else has, wants, or does. One way you also get disconnected from yourself is by physical violence. Because your body is how you process your emotions. Is very involved in that. When you experience violence, you have to try to adjust to it. And to adjust to it, you have to go against what you previously wanted to do or were wired, or how you were processing. So you adapt over time and it's training. Then the violence can cause traumatic connections in the brain that can prevent you from thinking, functioning, and adapting otherwise. Of course, at some point, because I was very weak and underweight, and it was impossible for me to communicate with people, because I would piss them off, and if I piss them off, then we have to fight, and I will lose most likely, which wouldn't be so bad if it wouldn't also cause me extreme inner disturbance that could last for months and more, and then revenge. And then there was a lot of pseudo spiritual people who pretended they were above revenge. I'm saying that because, of course, they just externalize their trauma and problems on others without recognizing it. And it's sometimes because the other people who get that dumped on them are too weak to defend themselves. And if they tell that they're being mistreated, they just get dismissed at least. So they live in a delusion that they are these perfect people. Then there are of course also rationalizations. I was immune to emotional pain, so people couldn't hurt me with words. This was easy for me, but I wasn't immune to physical pain. So I can't use words against others because they get mad and make physical threats. But I can't use physical threats against them. This prevented me from interacting with people and fighting people that I could function with, which also means maybe even making projects to make money, to leave toxic environments and to support other people who have their problems, and or animals, or whatever meaningful thing someone can do if they have the space, ability, freedom, and opportunities to do. Of course, the trauma would cause revenge, wanting to revenge and extreme violent thoughts. I kind of wanted them because it was the aggression is the strength of my resistance to what is happening to me. Because when people hurt you or experiences hurt you, they transform you. Transformation can mean brainwashing, and transforming is not something good. When you break your arm, that's transformation. Your arm is not supposed to be broken. If it grows the wrong way, now it causes problems, and some people have extreme nerve pain and problems because of injuries that debilitate their entire lives. This is transformation, and I don't think it's good. Then there are also those traumas that people have endured that again they have decided to not resist them and to transform under them, that have turned them into the kind of people they are to do those kind of bad things. There is a choice in who you want to be and what you want to do, but that choice is not without consequences. I was trying to increase my pain tolerance because despite multiple horrible experiences, despite painful experiences over time, the pain didn't become any easier to bear, and I was trying to induce pain in myself to figure out how to bear it easier. It didn't work for years. The reason I became psychopathic was because of Newing, I believe. Or at least it's related to the way I was. Because I lost my empathy, my memories, my ability to feel certain things over time, and cognition. That I didn't realize how much I was losing, although I knew something was wrong and it was getting worse. The most obvious to me was my creativity was getting destroyed or reduced, and I couldn't think of things that I could before or do things that I could before. I couldn't imagine things like I could before. And with the cognitive difficulties, it also became more difficult to process and interact with people, which would force me to overthink every interaction even more. This constant overthinking, forcing myself to feel something that I don't, to not give the wrong energy, to not get the wrong result on the interaction and bad consequences from it. and then people acting like they know more, and that you can't argue with them. I would very often get told that I'm arrogant for thinking something that not everyone else thinks. And people would expect me to know things out of nowhere. Yet I would see them not know obvious things, and it was very obvious to me that they didn't know because they never thought about it and they tried not to and they didn't want to and they wanted to rationalize not doing it. Because it would be difficult, since it's difficult to care and think about others. Most social dynamics are about power and domination. They are not about something genuine, something beneficial, something that's thought out, something that seeks to really improve. To help life become more meaningful, they find their meaning through abusing others for pleasure. Of course, pleasure is something that is important, but it's not important in the sense the person who has empathy thinks about how to get it while doing the least harm possible, while also helping people and others the most they can. Psychopathic arrogance, to say it as that term, although psychopaths can differ in that, is they think they are better because they are not dumb enough to trust someone else, to give to someone else, to give others power, because when you treat others well, you give them power. But this doesn't mean that they will treat you well back. Exploiting others as much as they can is what their efforts are generally about. Most people seem to me to have selective empathy. I wouldn't treat someone like they treated me or other people. I don't know why they did it. I don't know, they knew it was bad and it was fun for them because it's bad for someone else and not for themselves. Also, maybe thinking so much about what their demented mindset was about started making connections in my mind to think like them because I was trying to understand them, and understanding someone is related to empathizing and mirroring. Mirroring is related to building the same neurons in your mind, brain to perceive and feel and think what they feel and think, to understand them. So that you don't make the wrong assumptions about them because you don't know if you don't understand something about it. Then I also needed to do it because it's something that's somewhat necessary to figure out how to interact with them. Over time, physical pain became easier to bear, although I wasn't completely aware. Because it was hard for me to bear, but I was more pushing with aggression against it. Because trying to run away mentally made it increase. I didn't choose to lose empathy and I didn't choose to stop to care for others. It just happened. It was progressively happening. I was trying to actively resist it and despite actively trying to resist it, it was getting worse. Then I even lost memories that I actually cared for others before. I knew it, somewhat by intuition or something in me. And I didn't identify with my state of not caring either, it was muddled. It was not one nor the other. There was not even me to care, so how can I care if I'm not real? Because my memories couldn't be retrieved properly, because I also couldn't feel what I felt before, so when those memories are connected by feelings, and I try to feel something and I can't, they can't fire the memories, and when the memories fire, there is no my old feelings, thoughts, and associations with them, because they're restricted for some reason from me, which was again caused by viewing, I think, on top of all the other things. Well, when I figured out mewing and muscles were causing things and how emotions worked, I was able to, over time, with a lot of strain, because I also didn't know exactly how it worked, and because of how I was wired and formed, I'd have to strain to change it. So I couldn't just decide to fix everything and get it fixed. I couldn't just decide to feel and care and feel everything that I wanted at any point I wanted. I know I was psychopathic also because I had the intrusive violent thoughts, but before they were usually, and over time I was building layers of cognition, thinking, feeling, rationalization, everything, where you could abstract that thought and think about it and see it from many angles without being that thought yourself. When you have an intrusive urge or thought, but all you have is that intrusive urge or thought, then it means that that is what you are. Because how can you identify with something when it's not there? All of those thoughts that were resisting it or whatever, when it's gone, when you don't feel it, you can't. If you were someone who would not do that before and now that is how you have, how can you say that you are not that? I didn't want to identify with it, although, which again, that me not wanting, I didn't choose what to want or what not to want in that state that I was in. Because you can actually choose. When I tell someone that they can't choose, it can turn off parts of their brain that tell them that they can choose. Because they're trying to mirror me, or mirroring me almost automatically, and I'm not saying completely automatically, because if I say it can make it more automatic than it is. So you're using those complex thoughts and perceptions to change how you think, how you feel, how you act, which was taken away from me in that state that I figured how to get back, and you can get it back. It was also difficult for me to believe that I can do something that I couldn't do, or feel something that I couldn't feel, or think it, because those things are things that you imagine and think, and if you can't even think them, how can you believe that you can think of something that you can't even think about? It's not in your brain, there is nothing. The way I dug myself out of psychopathy was by watching people's faces thinking about them, looking at the muscles and understanding how they work and what mewing had done to me. So the way I would understand how the muscles work and how that moves your bones and changes your thinking and affects your brain, that I wrote about in a book. To start feeling those emotions in myself and also the way I think about why people express or think something. So that when you understand how someone feels, you can feel more, because thinking and understanding adds more to feeling. It changes them, it's not the same anymore. Then there were a lot of people who were constantly pushing me and telling me things like, how are you gonna get a job? What are you gonna do when you get this old? Or what if you can't make money, etc. That would force me to constantly answer them. This is aggression and attacks that force you to think about their stupid problems. Like in this video, I will show you later, a lot of psychopaths and those idiots constantly think about dying and what if they're gonna die. So they live in the moment because they live in PTSD, they live in that their stupid parents beat them and were telling them to become productive members of society. So they destroy their mental and physical health and live in constant stress and externalize their problems on others and only think about money, hustling, and how to do things and how to make things happen. A lot of sociopaths and psychopaths are materialistic. This is one way you could say they live like animals. I'm not gonna say about all of them, because everybody is different. And I'm using those words somewhat loosely, which is also fair. Because the way people try to define them, it's again by their own biases, and turns out people are more different than what a label and what the rules about that label people claim to be. Because I couldn't hurt others as easy as normal people, and I didn't see point in it, it was hard for me to rationalize it. If I have empathy about someone, how can I hurt them? It doesn't make sense. Because I would also think about being forced to fight, because again, psychopaths and sociopaths often think about worst case scenarios because of PTSD. And those people from the outside are forcing them on me, because what they do is they try to find someone, then they start talking about you about these terrible things and tell you how are you gonna solve that. Get a grip of yourself, start working out, start being normal, etc. Which disconnects you from yourself again, and they force a false self on you, where you are never fulfilled but by what you actually do. And they make you do those things because if you don't do them, they will beat you up, and they think they're helping you. Because if they don't beat you up, someone worse than them will do it. Because of my health issues and other reasons, I wouldn't be able to function like a normal person, and I didn't want to function like a normal person. And going against myself in that way and overthinking and trying to appeal to those kind of people further sent me into psychopathy and also worsened my health and made me less able to do what I actually want to do and would help me, but also made me less able to do what they wanted me to do. And then because they wouldn't believe my health issues and what is happening to me, and I didn't even know what is happening to me, I would have to fake it even more. Because if I display weakness or something they don't like or understand, they would try to destroy it and hurt me for it. Why should I care that something I do right now is not sustainable after 10 or 20 years? When if I do what you tell me, I won't even sustain 10 or 20 years. Psychopaths and sociopaths don't think about consequences. And because they're mentally disturbed and distorted, and they live only in the moment and they only see what's right in front of them, which is again why they gaslight me about their issues, because they don't understand them and they can think about them. And I'm not just gonna say that they can't, because a lot of those people don't want to. They're actually hyper emotional and reactionary and don't want to control their emotions, because they're power trip. Because they live in the moment, they try to control everything in the moment. In the moment, they think they can solve everything 1, 10, or 30, or 90 years down their life. They think they can somehow control everything 90 years down their life. Of course, they can say it's not everything, but I don't want to hear any stupid rationalizations anymore from that. Also, because there is a dominance hierarchy, they are usually used to someone dominating them, which can be a person that's causing their trauma. When someone is dominating you, you listen to them and you don't use your own brain to think. Because if you try to think for yourself, the dominator will see it as an offense and try to teach you out of it. Because thinking for yourself can make you powerful and they don't want you to be powerful. So those people can insult me, gaslight me, demean me, and all those things. But if I try to argue myself, for myself, I'm against them. I'm talking too much now. And if I insult them once, because they're used to walking over me and they maybe even don't realize they're doing it, and they don't want to realize they're doing it, and I don't have the energy to fight them all the time about any little thing they do, or even the big ones, because I barely have any energy and they turn everything into a fight. Because again, maybe they've learned to tolerate physical pain but not emotional, so when something goes against their emotions, they become aggressive, hostile, and physical. If I say something that upsets them, they start screaming at me with their entitlement, with their arrogance, how stupid I am for something. With sarcasm and mockery. And because this has almost never happened to me, or rarely compared to other people, I'm not even allowed to talk about it, but the reason it didn't happen to me as much is because I was forced to try to adapt to them so that it wouldn't happen. And this adaptation is, in a sense, deception, manipulation, which are also sociopathic and psychopathic traits, and because they have this domination hierarchy, those people are manipulating and lying to each other. They never know the truth. They overreact to each other. They have dominant systems that they are not even aware of, or if they are aware in a very twisted way. And when someone is actually telling them the truth, they think that someone is manipulating them. They project on others what they themselves think or experience or what someone else has done to them. Because again, they just see one thing, then they are reacting and they know everything about you. And they know exactly what to do about you. And they know what you should do. And they know who you are and how you are. Because I learned how to read people more, I can actually say and be right about some things about some people. And even for them, some things were just beyond obvious. The gaslighting they use is they confidently tell you how do you know. Like, how do you know? But they know everything and I don't know anything, and they are great and I'm not. Finally, those people like to draw that word, excuses, or other words that make you feel like you're not talking to an actual person, because you aren't. They are demonically possessed. You're forced to argue with them, and I didn't understand what they were about. Of course, this understanding would require maybe more brain or to be processing in a certain way that allows you to see them from above and help you interact with them or maybe dismiss them. Psychosis can make this harder because psychosis is about thinking and other distortions that get in the way of you, or so I feel, at least, maybe, of getting beyond it, because what you hear is their word and it keeps repeating and it's only that thing and you can't think beyond it and it kills everything in your mind. They physically threaten you. When someone is physically threatening you and maybe even your life, what are you supposed to do? You're trying to argue with something that doesn't use their brain, it feels. Because their brain isn't working. Also, of course, we have all felt that we talk to someone whose brain isn't working. This can go both ways, meaning part of your brain isn't working, so you're not processing things their way and you think that they're dumb, but you're dumb. In this case, this can also be true in different ways. But I wasn't the one threatening them. Also, of course, you're supposed to think in your future in ways that I'm not satisfied with most people. And I wanted them to think more about what are they gonna do more. However, those psychopaths didn't seem reasonable to me at all. Sociopaths, or whatever you want to call them. Someone else said they think most people are sociopaths and the only people who have true empathy are psychopaths. I think this is related to how the brain works, so you can flip the switch completely off, but you can also flip it completely on. Maybe because I'm autistic and autistic people use logic or think differently than normal people. And the way I'm autistic specifically, because every autistic person is different. I felt like I could only hurt someone if I lose empathy, but this means I lose empathy for everyone and everything when I do it. And they seemed to be very selective. They could hurt someone and have no empathy in that way, but they can have empathy for them otherwise. They can hurt someone and still have empathy for the one they're hurting, allegedly. They think they're doing it for your own good. You are constantly accusing me of things that aren't true, or thinking things that aren't true, that prevent me from living my life, from improving my health, getting money, doing things that I enjoy, and also helping other people. And because of all of that, my health getting worse, then I get threatened while they're dicking around. In the worst case scenario, they think I'm lazy, I get kicked out, then I get beaten on the street and develop psychosis. I am already psychotic, and this is... You don't know if I'm even gonna survive. Then I can get work that I get abused in. Let's say maybe I get okay after whatever bullshit happens. Point is, there is no way to know if I'm gonna be okay or not unless you're a psychic, which can be argued is demonic, or you just trust God. Yet we do know about, at that time, about cases of people who praised to God and something horrible happened to them. Even if their soul is saved, what being on earth with those people teaches you is that you're not valuable, you're not loved. Other thing is, if I get diagnosed as schizo or psychopathic, then my parents think I am mentally ill and can force me to do what they want to do because I can't choose for myself according to them or psychiatrists. I don't know how exactly that works at that time, and now I have other things to worry about. It's not the thing that I should look into, that's already a sort of given up. One thing that could have happened because of my teeth issues is if they removed all of the teeth in my mouth, natural ones, and replaced them with fake ones, which could have been avoided, and I think I figured a way to avoid that. So I can't rely on those people. And when all those things happen to you and you get that message that no matter how much you try to even communicate, that your life isn't valuable, that you deserve to die, that you're a parasite, that you're weak, that you're a burden. A lot of people do get to that point where they commit suicide because of it, but I thought if I did it, then they would win. So I turned it into aggression. I was turning it to aggression over time. I forced myself to exercise because I was also afraid of having to fight people, since I couldn't bear the pain. Forcing yourself to exercise damages your body, which damages the energy, motion, and emotion in your body. Which is why so many people who you see, especially the ones who exercise the most, tend to be psychotic, schizophrenic, or psychopathic, and narcissistic, or both. All that causes various problems in your body that people tell you to ignore and that you're making excuses about. And you don't even know how it works. Most doctors don't know how it works. Those who know only know it about partially. So I had to figure it out. I was losing parts of myself when exercising because the bones crushing my brain, being forced by the force. During my date and is famous of social media, Instagram, TikTok and OnlyFans. First guy is trying to get her to have sex with him because she's a virgin, he wants to take her virginity, that's demonic. Second guy is numerologist, which is also kind of demonic, and I think more than he realizes. Then the third, the girl on the leftmost, is a sociopath who's constantly talking about hustle and is asking her, what are you gonna do when you're 20 years old and have Alzheimer's? Cause she thinks OnlyFans and TikTok are impractical ways of making money, and that she's trying to help her by asking her those questions and pushing her away from it. She's very aggressive towards her. Both of the men are also shaming her for what she's doing, and all the three of her are making assumptions about her and are making her constantly defend herself from them. She's born on my birth date. The same things happen to me, except I'm not famous and successful. And those things happen to me all the time, every time. This hostile environment is not good. I'm not gonna say all the time, every time. But when you want to get to do something that people disapprove, it's large and they are powerful people. Yeah, it's not good. People don't achieve things because of it. Now I don't have money. There are people I need to help and things I need to do that I need money to do. And there are people who may have potentially died or live in horrible environment. Even if they don't die, they're going through torture because a bunch of people are jealous and wanted to hold me back, while those same people themselves are demonic and even worse than me and don't help anyone with what they have. Obviously, both of the men there are narcissists. The girl who is talking down on her is a sociopath. The girl who is being talked down on is neither a narcissist nor a sociopath. I am both a narcissist, a sociopath, and unsuccessful. Although I'd argue because I have some control of those conditions and I can fluctuate, I'm not like some other people. What is she going to do when she is 18 and has Alzheimer's, and to top it off, she lived her life in constant stress, hustling, worrying about controlling her life and how she's gonna die? That's sociopath. I'm angry at her. Sociopaths and narcissists think they can control everything and they try to control everything. Numerologists tried to hold down the sociopath because the sociopath was getting too aggressive with the way she talks and behaves towards the girl.